we're finally doing this! Now, if you didn't get a chance to submit or never saw the option or where to apply, it's because you haven't booped that subscribe button in this Snoot and you haven't seen our community post. So if you do want to be featured in another one of these videos, make sure that you are subscribed and that you boop that Snoot so you get our community post notification. Know when I'm asking for this again. Now, you guys have also been asking about more merchandise, specifically more gerbil merch, and I have a new design for you guys. I'm incredibly proud of it. I hope you guys like it and are interested in it, and if you are, I'll leave a link in the description. And it's on Teespring, so check it out. And this design will be available on iPhone cases, Android cases, the other phones that exist, hoodies, sweatshirts, sweaters, t-shirts, and just all the good stuff. So whatever you prefer will be there. So the way we're gonna do this, and if you see me looking not directly at the camera, it's because I'm going to be looking at all your enclosures on my iPad. Okay, so this first one is from Oscar and the Gerbils, and they have included information. This is their gerbil cage that is around 900 square inches, and they're using hemp wood shavings as bedding. The wheel is 8 inches, and they give them the option of a water bottle or a water bowl. Now, I love that you give them the option because a lot of times people will just give up on water dishes because they don't see their gerbils using them, and so giving them both options is great because they can choose even if you don't notice that they are using one. They have the option, which is good. Now, oh, I quickly want to mention that I will not be rating this by numbers, by stars, by gerbils, because I just don't think that it's fair. Everybody's enclosure is going to be judged by the bare minimum and what gerbils needs. Now, this enclosure exceeds the bare minimum. They have a lot of bedding and they have enrichment, and I'm really proud of this one. And the only advice that I have for you would be to, instead of putting their food mix inside of a bowl, I would sprinkle it around their bedding because this makes it so they have to work and forage to get their main seeds and all the food. It also helps with selective picking because if you sprinkle it around the enclosure and then leave a day or two off without feeding another tablespoon, or they will have to go back and search and find these seeds. It also helps with territorial behavior, so they can't really guard any of it because it's sprinkled all around their bedding. So that would be my only advice for you. This next one is from Mimo. Their measurements are 100 by 40 centimeters. They have 2 girl gerbils, and their names are Mimo and Neva. And she says that those names might sound weird, but I love those names. I think they're cute. And I had a dog named Mimo. They usually get more, or no, this is Memo. It's Memo, like the notepad thing, right? Yeah, Memo's also cute though. Their sand bath doesn't fit in the cage, but I give it to them every day. There's lots of things for them to chew and to hide in and to feel safe. I love the amount of bedding. Even though you said this isn't the normal amount of bedding, it looks like a very good amount already. And I do recommend 8 inches. I think the bare minimum is 6, but I think that bare minimum goes for hamsters. I mean, I guess we can apply it with gerbils, but I think 8 inches of bedding is the new normal. What I think should be the new normal for gerbils, because they just have so much interest and so much habit to create lots of chambers and lots of tunnels so that if they get scared, they have exits at every corner available to them. And so that's why bedding is so important. I also noticed that you're putting the food in a bowl. Now, this is great for salads because they are wet and you don't want them to take it down into the bedding because it can cause mold. But with their food mixes, it's completely dry, so sprinkling it around will help a lot with their boredom and enrichment and eating all the seeds that they should be eating, and just it's all the good. So the way that your divider is, I can see why the sand bath wouldn't really work for you, because they just would cover it in all the bedding that you have. And so I understand why you just give it to them daily instead of keeping it in there, because they will cover it. So I think that's okay. That's the tricky thing with gerbils and dividers. It really needs to only have like a small gerbil sized opening for them to have sand in an area that won't be swamped in bedding. The next one is from Amelia, and they have a female gerbil tank. The tank measures 100 by 50 by 50. They also have a cage topper on the top. So I love the different enrichment that you've provided for the cage topper. I noticed that you are using those hangers that have a lot of different seeds and is binded together, usually by honey or something very sugary that can help them stick together, like a syrup. And I wouldn't keep those in the cage because they are very high in fat and sugar, and I honestly think that you could break them up into little cubes and give them once a week, because those are treats for gerbils. I also noticed that a lot of your bedding is different shredded material, which is completely fine, but I have noticed that they might have a little bit of a struggle holding together their tunnels and exits. So a great binding material to use to help them would be hay and wood shavings, aspen wood shavings, especially the hay, because hay is a little bit more stable. I don't know if the wheel can fit where the cage topper is, but if it can, I would absolutely recommend keeping it there. They don't need to, you don't need to worry about them covering it in bedding. And the same with their sand bath. I'm sure you probably have to take paper out of it all the time, so if it fits in the cage topper, I would definitely recommend it. And you could put some of the enrichment, the wood pieces that you've put in the cage topper down into their burrows. They will use it, and they will also use it to help them keep their tunnels and chambers sturdy and lifted and defy gravity with it. The next one is from Isabel, and their gerbils live in a 40-gallon fish tank. The white one's name is Noodles and the brown one name is Nugget. They are scatter fed, have an 8.5-inch wheel, and are fed veggies every 2 days and scatter fed every 3. So I love the amount of bedding you're using. It's a lot, and it has different material which will help keep their tunnels sturdy. I also love seeing the divider that you use so that they don't get all the things that they should need outside of their bedding. Now with the comfort wheel, I think that's the wheel you're using, I would normally suggest to avoid those wheels because gerbils are likely to chew through those things with ease. But if your gerbil hasn't, well then there's no sense in taking it out, because you know your gerbils aren't chewing it and they're just not interested in doing so with that wheel. So I don't think you have a problem, but for gerbils in general, I probably would see those wheels normally as a potential risk for them to chew through it. This next one is from Katherine, and they adopted 2 gerbils from a previous owner, and their names are Daisy. The white one is Daisy and the black one is Willow. I love their names. It's a simple setup. It's a 20-gallon tall. They put the food bowl and sand bath on the wood to prevent them from being covered with bedding, and it works most of the time. And they would love to get a bigger cage in the future, but as of now they don't have the space. Now I love the depth of bedding you have in there. I don't see a wheel, and I definitely would recommend a wheel, especially in a 20-gallon, because even though they have all that bedding to dig and run around in, kind of, it's just, rodents especially need a wheel because it helps them burn off energy in a much faster way without needing a large space, and so they can run continuously without running into a glass wall or metal, and so that's why wheels are so important for them. And so I would definitely recommend, even if you can't upgrade the aquarium, you can definitely get a cage topper, and that'll help a lot because then you can keep their water there and the sand and their wheel, and they also won't be able to cover it in bedding. And again, I definitely recommend scatter feeding their food mix. It also helps them not selectively choose the good ones and leave out the bad ones, because they just kind of gotta search and find and eat what they find. So, but that is my advice to you, and I'm glad that you're interested in upgrading in the future, and I definitely recommend, even if you can't upgrade to a bigger space right now, a cage topper. This next one is from Joanne. They also used those fish bowls as a sand bath, which is really great because fish don't belong there, and lots of enrichment. Now they also have a corn of cob and a mineral stone block. Now gerbils and rodents in general actually don't need mineral stones, those Himalayan salt blocks. It's too much sodium for them, and with a good diet they already have the sodium that they need, so I would suggest taking that out. I know it's been November since then, but if you still have it, I would suggest to do that. I also think that the corn of cob is too much, especially a whole cob of corn. Gerbils actually don't really need corn as a staple, and so it's much more like a treat for them. So I definitely wouldn't recommend putting a whole corn of cob. However, the husk and the seedless corn makes a great chew toy. This doesn't have the nutrients of the corn, it doesn't have the starch, and it just works as a chew toy for them. If they digest it, it's still safe, as long as they're not covered in seasoning or had been salted or any butter or any of that stuff. And also, again, scatter feeding, scatter feeding, scatter feeding. This next one is from Katherine, and their tank, they have two connected tanks, and the big one is 40 by 100 by 60 centimeters, and the small one is 35 by 80 by 40. The bedding is about 35 centimeters deep, which is a lot and amazing, and they have 3 male gerbils. The tank looks incredible, everything looks large, and I'm very intrigued by the platform that you have on top. I don't know if it's something that they can access all the time or if it's just when you open the lid, because it does look out in the open, but if it's something that they can access all the time, I'm curious to know if covered so that they can't jump off the enclosure or how it works. So if you are watching this video, definitely I'm interested in knowing. I love it. I love how big everything is. I love the depth of bedding. I love all the bendy bridges that you use so they can access all of the things, all of the enrichment that they have in their enclosure. And they also have a very large food bowl. What are they eating? Fit in it and eat their salads in their bowls comfortably. The next one is from Nora, and they built this from a metal shelf, and their girls are Speedy and Chewy, and this is amazing. I am so impressed. Upholstering things to make it benefit another use is amazing. I love the idea of it. They have a great amount of chew toys and enrichment and bedding, and their wheel is in a place where they can't cover it in bedding. Honestly, you made this metal shelf into every gerbil cage dream. Like every blueprint that pet store should be taking to make a gerbil cage should be based off of here. It's great. Thank you. The next one is from Oren. We have 2 female gerbils, and their names are Fish and Eggs. I love that. Still trying to find a way to keep their bedding out of the sand, and the bowl in there isn't a food bowl. She just likes to find her food and sit in it to eat. I love when gerbils do that. I know what you mean. I love the amount of bedding that you have, and I love how clever that you guys are getting with dividers, because I honestly wouldn't have thought about some of these when I was thinking about how to make a divider for the gerbils so they keep their bedding out of it. I definitely didn't think of using a platform and using that platform to stabilize the amount of bedding that is on the other side, to avoid most of it getting to the part that shouldn't have bedding. I also would love to know where you got those huge wood, I don't know if it's a bendy bridge or like an extra large bendy bridge, but it's amazing, and I would absolutely love to know how you put that together or where you got it, because I need that in my life. I'm trying to cover my divider in bendy bridges, but it's a lot more expensive than if it was just an extra large bendy bridge. You said that the bedding still gets inside, and I noticed it's because there's still kind of like a lean in the divider, so it's very easy for bedding to slide under because it's not perfectly down to the ground. But I think it works for keeping most of it out. If a little bit of bedding gets in there, it's not that important. They can still use the sand and every other thing for what it's meant to be used as, so I think you did a really good job. If you can find ways to improve their divider in the future, that would be awesome. But other than that, it's amazing. This next one is from Loli. They have 3 gerbils. The measurements are 122 centimeters by 50 by 50. And they have provided 15 inches of bedding for them. Their gerbils are misty, snow, and stormy. Intend to switch the cardboard for a large bendy bridge divider that she ordered. Where are you guys getting these large bendy bridges? I need to know. I need them in my life. Even if you weren't going to get a different divider or upgrade it, it looks like it works amazingly. Have an amazing amount of wooden enrichment in there. I love the wood piece in here. I think it's Mopani wood, I think, and that's a wood that you can usually find in the reptile section, but it's also safe for rodents, so just an idea. They're super pretty too. They also are using hay to help sturdy those tunnels and to help them be able to live their best burrowing life. This one is from Yaw, and their gerbils names are Skippy and Oreo. I'm not sure what size the enclosure is, but it looks like it's above the bare minimum. Honestly, 20 gallons is just way too small to be an enclosure alone for 2 gerbils. It's a bare minimum, but it's just way too small. And so the fact that you can have a divided space shows me that it's way over 20 gallons because you don't need a cage topper to have that division. I love the wooden stairs that you're using as a way for them to go in and out from both sides. It's so cute. The only thing that's missing, and I think that you should try to include, would be a wheel, because exercise is super important for rodents. Even if they don't use it that much, even if they use it for 2 seconds and stop and then 2 seconds again, it's still a form of exercise. You did say that they are exhibiting boredom behavior. Wheel would definitely be the most helpful for you right now. This next one is from Loli. I love the platforms that you're using. I would recommend a lot more bedding than they have right now. They're 2 different enclosures, but I would recommend more bedding in both. You can always use hay and wood shavings to help build up the size of bedding that they have, and not just the expensive bedding like KT Clean and Cozy and Carefresh, which is a bit more on the expensive side to get a lot of. So this will help a lot build up the size of bedding that they need. Now for the Critter Trail tubes, I probably wouldn't recommend them even as a piece of enrichment, even if they're not in a Critter Trail cage. The pieces are known to cause territorial behavior because they're so refined and so tiny of a space that a gerbil can easily feel like they are too enclosed and barely be able to run away from another gerbil, and that gerbil could use that to that knowledge to their advantage, because it will be a bit of a struggle for them to go in such a enclosed space. And the last one is from Lexi, and they have 55 gallon. Where are you guys getting these gigantic bendy bridges? They have changed my world today. I have discovered that there are bendy bridges the size of rabbits, and I need them. But I love the enclosure division. I don't know what it is, but I just love seeing gerbil enclosures that have a divided space or a cage topper, because they obviously know what it's like to have gerbils. I love that you also made the floor sand for them. On the divided side, I usually wouldn't recommend having bedding because they will use it to create another burrow or try to cover the things on that side with it, but using the base of the ground with just sand is amazing. And well, you won't need a sand bath because you can just put it on that side and it will stay there if your divider is secure enough, which yours obviously is. But that is it for this video. I tried to include the ones where I could give different advice, so even if one of the enclosures wasn't like yours, you could get advice from that one or just any of them. So I tried to make it so it's not repetitive information. We'll be making these videos again in the future, so again, make sure you are subscribed, and also the notification bell will help you to see my community posts. Definitely check out our merch. I would love to see people wear gerbil stuff because gerbils are so underrated. We need gerbils to take over the world. But that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.